Imagine a silent night in the New Mexico desert. A loud crash pierces the sky, and something mysterious crashes onto a farm outside Roswell. Within hours, the military surrounds the site, collecting debris and issuing conflicting statements. What really crashed there? A weather balloon or an alien spacecraft? For decades, secret documents, chilling testimonies, and conspiracy theories have fueled what many call the greatest cover-up in modern history. Brace yourself. What you're about to hear today could change your view of the world forever. If you are passionate about mysteries, hidden secrets, and conspiracies that defy logic, this channel is for you. Like, subscribe now, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next episodes. Oh, comment below what you think happened in Roswell, alien technology, or just a big hoax. Your opinion could appear in the next video. The story begins in July 1947. After reports of strange lights in the sky, Farmer Mac Brazel finds metal about 75 miles from Roswell. The pieces had an unusual appearance, light as paper but strong as steel. There were also unfamiliar symbols, similar to hieroglyphics. Alarmed, Brazel takes the material to the local sheriff, who immediately alerts Roswell Air Force Base. The next day, the military arrived in force. The site was cordoned off, the wreckage collected and taken to the base. The press was called, and an official statement was issued. The Air Force has recovered the wreckage flying saucer. The headline spread like wildfire around the world, but the euphoria was short-lived. In less than 24 hours, the story was abruptly denied. A new statement was sent. The object was nothing more than a weather balloon. Photos were released of officers holding scraps of aluminum foil and wood, supposedly belonging to the balloon. The press accepted the new version, but something didn't make sense. Why so much military action over a simple balloon? Contradictions began to emerge. Witnesses reported that the wreckage seen did not resemble that in the photo released. In addition, some residents claimed to have seen strange bodies being taken away in covered trucks. What was being hidden? This chapter in the Roswell story marks the beginning of what many consider the greatest conspiracy of the modern era. But what would come next would make everything even darker. After the government quickly backed down on the flying saucer, something strange began to happen. People who had spoken too much began to change their stories. Mac Brazel, the farmer who found the wreckage, disappeared for a few days and, when he reappeared, said that the material was just balloon scrap. But those who knew him said that he was visibly shaken, almost as if he had been coerced into changing his statement. Other residents in the area also reported strange activity. Men in suits, who did not appear to be military personnel, walked around Roswell asking questions and making veiled threats. Witnesses said that they had been instructed never to talk about what they had seen. For the sake of national security, fear gripped the town. The matter was slowly buried, as if it had never happened, but the seed of doubt had already been planted. Many residents never forgot what they saw, and decades later, they began to speak out. Some claimed to have seen small, gray-skinned bodies being carried away on covered stretchers. Others spoke of advanced technology, of materials that seemed impossible to the science of the time, and they all echoed the same sentiment. The government was hiding something. Roswell was no longer just a small town in New Mexico. It had become the epicenter of one of humanity's greatest enigmas. And as the years passed, the truth seemed increasingly buried, but also increasingly close to being revealed. In the 1990s, the U.S. government tried to put an end to the mystery. That's when the so-called Project Mogul came to light. Operation during the Cold War that used balloons to detect Soviet nuclear tests. According to the new official explanation, what crashed in Roswell in 1947 was one of these high-tech balloons coated with sensors and unusual materials. It was a plausible explanation at first glance. But there was a problem. Project Mogul, although secret, did not use any type of technology that would justify the reports of debris with strange symbols and unknown materials. Furthermore, the scientists involved themselves denied that the balloons could cause such a commotion. And what about the bodies? The explanation changed once again. According to the government, the aliens seen by witnesses were actually test dummies parachuted in the 1950s, that is, years after the Roswell incident. The confusion of dates would have caused people to misremember. But this raised even more questions. Why so many changes in version? Why so many contradictions? The Project Mogul theory seemed more like an attempt to erase the past than a definitive answer. For many scholars, it only served to reignite conspiracy theories, and the more it was investigated, the more the Roswell case seemed to hide a much bigger truth. In the 1990s, with the rise of ufology and the end of the Cold War, former military officers began to break their silence. One of them was Major Jesse Marcel, who was responsible for collecting the wreckage in 1947. In interviews given shortly before his death, he declared, "That was not of this world. I know what I saw, and that was not a balloon." Other former military officers confirmed his words, describing terrifying details, indestructible wreckage, bodies with unusual anatomy, and even autopsies conducted secretly on military bases. Some of these stories have even been documented in books and TV shows. One of the most famous interviews was with Glenn Dennis, who worked as a funeral director at Roswell. He reported receiving calls from the air base asking for coffins sealed, as well as instructions on how to handle non-human tissue. These testimonies reopened old wounds. The government was pressured to respond, but it remained silent. For many, the growing number of consistent accounts coming from people who had nothing to gain from them was the final proof that something extraordinary really did happen at Roswell. And the more the truth tried to be suppressed, the louder it screamed to be heard. The Roswell incident is not an isolated incident. After 1947, a wave of UFO sightings took over the United States and the world. In 1952, the White House itself was flown over by unidentified flying objects, and the Air Force created Project Blue Book to officially investigate the phenomenon. Although many cases were explained as natural phenomena, more than 700 of them remain unexplained to this day. Many scholars believe that Roswell was the starting point for a new type of control over UFO alien spacecraft. The theory is extraterrestrial bodies. If the U.S. government would represent an unprecedented scientific and technological leap, something that would change the world order. And perhaps that is precisely why everything was hidden. Furthermore, there is a sinister connection between Roswell and other military installations, such as the mysterious Area 51. Several whistleblowers claim that debris was taken there and that the base still houses alien technology. What's more, secret, experiments were allegedly conducted on the biological remains found at Roswell. The Roswell case appears to be the tip of a much larger iceberg. What if we are only scratching the surface of what really happened that July night? In 1995, the world was shocked by a video released by producer Ray Santilli. The footage showed what appeared to be a real autopsy performed on an alien being supposedly one of the bodies recovered at Roswell. The footage caused a global stir. It was in black and white with an ancient appearance and showed doctors examining the body of a being with a disproportionate head, large eyes, and wrinkled skin. For a time, many believed that this was definitive proof. TV shows broadcast the video, experts tried to validate it, and the debate exploded in the press. However, over time, criticism began to mount. Anatomists claimed that the body looked artificial, while others pointed out technical inconsistencies in the video. Years later, Santilli himself was not entirely real, but rather a reconstruction based on authentic images that he had lost. This confession did not end the debate, quite the opposite. Many believe that Santilli's story was fabricated to cover up the veracity of the material. Conspiracy theorists suggest that he was pressured to deny its authenticity in order to discredit its content. Others say that the government may have allowed the video to circulate to further confuse public opinion. Despite the doubts, the autopsy video served to reignite global interest in Roswell. It became a fundamental part of modern alien mythology. And once again, the truth seemed to slip through society's fingers. But what could have motivated the alleged staging? Truth or manipulation? Since the first reports of the Roswell accident, the media has played an ambiguous role, sometimes as an ally of the truth, sometimes as an instrument of disinformation. In 1947, the local newspaper, Roswell Daily Record, bold letters, RAAF captures flying saucer. The following day, the story was replaced by a forced retraction. This type of sudden change raised suspicions of orchestrated censorship. For decades, major media outlets avoided treating this subject seriously. Whenever something about Roswell appeared, it was accompanied by a mocking tone, comical soundtracks, and presenters laughing at the alien hypothesis. This approach had a clear effect. It discredited witnesses and reduced the legitimacy of debate on the subject. But with the rise of the Internet, the narrative began to spiral out of control. Forums, independent videos, and documentaries began to surface previously ignored evidence. Old reports were re-examined. Documents were released through access to information laws, and public pressure grew. Traditional media was forced to reposition themselves. In recent years, networks such as CNN, NBC, and even the New York Times began to treat UFOs more seriously. This intensified. The Pentagon confirmed videos of unexplained aerial phenomena in 2020. Suddenly, the media looked at Roswell with less skepticism. The question remains, why now? Could this be a real breakthrough or a new form of manipulation? In 2020, the Pentagon officially released 3 videos recorded by U.S. Navy pilots, showing flying objects with behavior and acceleration incompatible with any known technology. For the first time, the U.S. government used the term unidentified aerial phenomena. This caused a quiet revolution in the way the subject was treated. The Department of Defense announced the creation of investigation groups dedicated exclusively to the phenomenon. Lawmakers demanded public reports. Previously classified documents began to be made available. And most impressively, no one laughed when the subject was flying saucers anymore. Despite this, the Roswell case has remained shrouded in silence. Neither the 2021 report made any direct reference to what happened in 1947. Many see this as a clear strategy to release information gradually to avoid public shock, keeping the biggest secret, Roswell, out of the spotlight. Others believe that Roswell remains such a landmark that any official confirmation would deeply shake people's trust in institutions. After all, for more than 70 years, we have been led to believe that it was all just a hoax. Are we being prepared for the truth? Or are we just being distracted by revelations? As the decades have passed, even darker theories have emerged surrounding Roswell. Some claim that the U.S. not only recovered alien spacecraft, but that it made secret deals with beings from other worlds. In exchange for technology, they would allow these beings to conduct experiments on our planet. This theory is supported by alleged government whistleblowers and leaked documents, such as the enigmatic Majestic 12. Other researchers believe that Roswell was not the only case, just the first that got out of hand. After 1947, the military reportedly developed rigorous protocols to cover up future incidents, with teams specializing in collecting debris and silencing witnesses in record time. There are also those who argue that the technological race of the 1950s and 1960s, with impressive advances in a short space of time, is a direct result of what was recovered in Roswell. The rapid transition from vacuum tubes to microchips, lasers, and fiber optics have been accelerated thanks to the reverse engineering of the alien spacecraft. These ideas may seem far from reality, but the lack of clear answers from the government only strengthens them. Where there is silence, there is room for theories, and the more people try to deny it, the more interest grows. Roswell, more than a mystery, has become a symbol of doubt, and perhaps of the denied truth. Regardless of what the truth is, one thing is undeniable: Roswell changed the world. It influenced books, movies, TV shows, and even the way we think about the universe. From the X-Files to Men in Black, from Reddit theories to UFO conventions, Roswell has fueled the collective imagination for over 75 years. The once forgotten city has become a tourist destination for mystery hunters. There are museums dedicated to the incident, UFO festivals, and an entire trade based on the alien enigma. It is an industry that grows every year, driven by the human desire to understand more than a cultural phenomenon. Roswell represents the eternal search for answers. The question, are we alone in the universe, has perhaps never been more pressing than after that strange summer of 1947. And even if we never get an official answer, the simple fact of asking the question moves us forward. Because at its core, Roswell is not just about aliens, it's about us. About how far we are willing to go to find the truth, and maybe one day it will come to light. Some witnesses who had previously been silenced or ignored began to speak out. Many were retired, elderly, or nearing the end of their lives, and perhaps for that reason they felt it was time to tell the truth. One of the most famous cases is that of Jesse Marcel Jr., the son of Major Jesse Marcel, the first military officer to examine the wreckage. He claimed to have seen with his own eyes fragments that did not belong in this world. Another important account comes from Glenn Dennis, who was working as a funeral director in Roswell at the time of the incident. He claimed to have received calls from the airbase asking about small, sealable, decomposition-resistant coffins. He also said that a nurse he trusted saw the bodies of non-human creatures before mysteriously disappearing. These witnesses, far from appearing sensationalist, had respectable profiles. High-ranking military officers, doctors, engineers, and civil servants. Their stories coincide on crucial points: indestructible materials, non-human bodies, forced silence, and abrupt changes of narrative by the authorities. Some of these statements were recorded in videos, interviews, and books, but they were also discredited by official bodies. The justification? Faulty memory, invention, or a quest for fame. However, the consistency between independent accounts continues to intrigue scholars. Could they all be lying, or just doing their duty to tell what really happened? For many years, the United States government maintained a strict policy of secrecy regarding any information related to unidentified flying objects. Documents were archived, names were blacked out, and many files classified as top secret remain inaccessible to this day. The question that arises is, why? The existence of classified files on Roswell was indirectly confirmed by Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests. Many documents came into the hands of journalists and ufologists, but they came with entire sections blacked out. Suspicion that the government was hiding something of great importance. There are also reports that witnesses were forced to sign confidentiality agreements under threat of imprisonment or even mysterious disappearance. The so-called law of silence was reportedly enforced rigorously, especially in the first years after the incident. Many reports state that federal agents threatened civilians and confiscated evidence. What is most disturbing is that not even U.S. presidents seem to have full access to what happened in Roswell. John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and even Barack Obama have shown interest in the phenomenon, but always received evasive responses from intelligence agencies. This raises an alarming possibility. Was there a government within the government keeping the secret? If Roswell is of no importance, why so many efforts to hide it? Scientists also played an ambiguous role in the Roswell accident. Some tried to explain the events based on engineering and ballistics, while others remained silent out of fear, disbelief, or even pressure. For years, the scientific community avoided getting involved in ufology, fearing that it would jeopardize its reputation. However, some experts took bold stands. Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist, was a leading proponent of the alien hypothesis. He interviewed dozens of witnesses and claimed that there was a systematic effort to hide the truth. Friedman saw Roswell as a watershed in the relationship between science and society. Another important name is Jacques Vallée, a scientist and ufologist who was always warned about the complexity of the phenomenon. For him, what happened in Roswell may have been much more than a simple spaceship crash. He spoke of parallel realities, manipulation of perception, and technologies that escape our understanding. Many current scientists, less afraid of ridicule, have turned their attention to the UAP phenomenon. Institutions such as Harvard and Stanford have created research centers dedicated to studying anomalous aerial objects in an academic manner. The taboo is slowly being broken, but will science be able to unravel such a deeply buried secret? Some say that the Roswell incident was not just a cover-up, but an experiment in mass manipulation. According to this line of thinking, the government tested not only new technologies, but also the public's reaction to the unknown. A kind of psychological, social, and media experiment. This theory is based on the fact that the military completely controlled the narrative from the beginning. First, they confirmed that a flying saucer had crashed. Then, they denied it. Then, documents, contradictions, and even changes in witness statements emerged. All of this created confusion, discredit, and division of opinion, key elements of a successful psychological operation. Furthermore, films, series, and comics began to popularize the image of aliens shortly after 1947. Some believe that this was no coincidence, but rather part of a planned campaign to slowly prepare the collective mind for a future revelation or to trivialize the phenomenon. This manipulation, if true, may have worked so well that today no one knows what to believe. And paradoxically, the more we talk about Roswell, the closer we seem to the truth. A fog of information, false clues, and noises that make the real event almost impossible to reconstruct. Could Roswell then be the greatest case in history? Today, more than 75 years after the incident, Roswell still divides opinions. For some, it was nothing more than a military error transformed into a legend. For others, it is the starting point for a cosmic secret guarded by world powers. The truth is that the case is still alive, stronger than ever. The city of Roswell thrives on mystery. Tourism has increased, museums have been created, and curiosity is renewed with each new generation. Young people who were even born in the 1940s today study the details of the incident with passion and determination. Roswell has become part of the collective unconscious of humanity. Furthermore, recent advances in the release of information about UAPs have renewed interest in the case. Now, more than ever, there is the possibility that documents, witnesses, and even physical evidence will come to light. Groups of scientists, journalists, and activists continue to pressure the government for full transparency. Even if we never have official confirmation, Roswell served its purpose. It opened our eyes to the vastness of the universe and the mystery it holds. It made the question, "Are we alone?" one of the most important of our time. The answer may lie in some hangar, on a hidden tape, or just in the courage to keep looking. One of the most controversial pieces of the Roswell mystery is the group known as Majestic 12, MJ-12. According to documents leaked in the 1980s, this supposed top-secret committee was created by order of President Harry Truman to deal with the Roswell accident and its implications. The members? High-ranking military officers, renowned scientists, and members of the U.S. political elite. The roles attributed to MJ-12 range from recovering and analyzing alien technology to suppressing any information related to extraterrestrial contact. Although many experts consider the MJ-12 documents to be elaborate forgeries, some argue that some of them may contain truths hidden under intentional disinformation. The existence of a group with the power to control and manipulate knowledge about extraterrestrial life raises even deeper questions. Who really holds the power, and what are its true goals? If MJ-12 is real, it represents a government within a government, operating in the shadows and making decisions based on information the public will never know. Some researchers believe that MJ-12 is still active today under other names or acronyms. There are rumors that such a group is involved in controlling facilities such as Area 51, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and research centers in Nevada and Utah. The mere possibility that such an organization exists makes the Roswell case even bigger. Not just a UFO crash, but the beginning of a new era of interplanetary secrecy. Roswell was not the only case of alleged contact or crash of unidentified objects. On the contrary, it appears to have been just the starting point of a global wave of unexplained sightings and incidents. Beginning in the 1950s, the skies were filled with strange lights, triangular craft, silent objects, and impossible aerial maneuvers. Cases such as Kecksburg, 1965, Rendlesham Forest, 1980, and even official videos released by the Pentagon in the 2000s show patterns that echo the Roswell reports. Anti-gravity behavior, extreme secrecy, and sightings near military bases. For many researchers, all of this points to an ongoing and global phenomenon. Roswell was the first documented incident in a series of interactions with non-human intelligences. Others go further and claim that governments have been communicating with these entities ever since. And the patterns are the same: deny, hide, silence. The objects observed over the decades vary in shape and size, but they share one thing in common. They do not behave like any known terrestrial technology. This similarity reinforces the theory that we are dealing with something external to Earth, whether physical, interdimensional, or even spiritual. If Roswell was the first step, what else is to come? Few events have left such a deep mark on the collective imagination as the Roswell accident. What began as a newspaper headline in 1947 became the basis for films, TV series, books, songs, comics, and theories of all kinds. The figure of the gray alien with large eyes and a disproportionate head was popularized based on initial reports of the incident. Films such as Independence and Men in Black were directly inspired by the Roswell mystery. The city became a global symbol of extraterrestrial mystery and distrust of the government. Pop culture helped keep the case alive, and at the same time made it harder to separate fiction from reality. This massive influence has turned Roswell into a media phenomenon. To this day, tourists from all over the world visit the city's UFO museum, buy alien souvenirs, and attend the annual UFO festival. Has gone from being just a mystery to an icon of contemporary culture. However, this cultural phenomenon has two sides. On the one hand, it keeps the subject alive. On the other, it trivializes the serious scientific debate about extraterrestrial life. Many wonder if this transformation into a spectacle was not exactly what the governments wanted, to discredit it through saturation. And so Roswell became a legend, but was that all? Decades after Roswell, the mystery of unidentified objects returned to the center of debate with a surprising twist. The United States government itself began releasing videos of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, recorded by Navy pilots. These videos, such as Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast, show objects performing maneuvers impossible for any known terrestrial aircraft. In 2020, the Pentagon confirmed the authenticity of these recordings and created the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to investigate such occurrences. The government officially admitted there are objects in the sky that defy our understanding. What does this have to do with Roswell? For many, it is confirmation that something has been hidden all along. Modern videos have reopened discussions about what happened in 1947. Could the military have finally decided, little by little, to prepare the public for a bigger revelation? U.S. congressmen have already participated in public hearings on the subject, and former government officials such as Luis Elizondo and David Grush have stated that there are secret programs involving the recovery of non-human technology. This strongly rekindles theories about crashed spacecraft, reverse engineering, and contact. Was Roswell just the beginning? And are we now reaching the climax? Even after so many decades, the Roswell case remains unsolved. We may never know the whole truth, But that hasn't stopped thousands of people around the world from continuing to investigate, study, and seek answers on their own. Roswell has become a symbol of the fight against secrecy and for transparency. Civil groups, UFO research organizations, independent journalists, and enthusiasts continue to cross-reference data, locate witnesses, and request release of documents via FOIA. The truth may lie in some dusty basement, in a forgotten diary, or in the records of a still active military base. Meanwhile, the public is divided between skeptics and believers. Some dismiss any unconventional possibility. Others are certain that humanity has already made contact with beings from another world. In the middle of this conflict stands Roswell, silent, enigmatic, persistent. The ultimate question remains: what exactly crashed in Roswell in 1947? An experimental balloon? An alien spacecraft? Or something even stranger that we can't even name? What is certain is that Roswell forever changed the way we view the universe and our place in it. The Roswell accident is not just an isolated. It is a watershed moment. A moment when humanity, perhaps for the first time, faced the real possibility that we are not alone in the universe. More than a UFO story, Roswell is a story of silence, secrets, fear, and courage. The courage to seek the truth, even when it is buried under layers of denial and disbelief. With each document released, each witness who decides to speak out, each image that emerges, the flame of doubt is rekindled. And with it, the certainty there is much more between heaven and earth than we are told. Whether you are a skeptic, a curious person, or a true believer, Roswell continues to challenge us to look up and question. Because in the end, the biggest question is not what crashed in Roswell, but why did they spend so much time trying to convince us that nothing happened? If this video made you think, doubt, or give you goosebumps, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Activate the bell so you don't miss any new content about mysteries, hidden facts, and secrets that changed or will change the history of humanity. Leave your like, share with those who love a good investigation, and comment below. Do you believe that what crashed in Roswell was really from another world? Your opinion is very important and may appear in the next video.